In this episode, we chat about Gen Con 2023 and the new hotness Disney Lorcana trading card game. Then, singing at a concert. Is it good, or should you keep it to yourself? Stay tuned for our verdicts. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, Don't Ray Me.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll receive early access to both our audio and video episodes before they're released to the general public.
Hey! Welcome to another show! Woo! Woo, 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 woo.
That's too much.
No, it's too much?
Too much energy.
Let's
Knock it
bring
down
it down a little bit.
A little bit. Not
Okay.
a lot. A little bit.
Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
I wanted to talk to you today about one of our favorite pastimes, which is card and board games.
Yes, card and board games.
People may not know, we sometimes keep up with the board game hobby, and the biggest gaming convention, I think, certainly in the country, maybe in the world, it depends on who you ask and which year you're referring to.
Which country?
The God's country.
Okay. The good old US of A.
Bat country.
That country.
It was called Gen Con, and Gen Con 2023 took place this last weekend in Indianapolis, where it has for a pretty long time now.
Yes.
And we used to go to this Gen Con thing every single year for a while, covering it for our board game channel, Roll for Crit. And now the past 2 years, this is the second year in a row we haven't gone after having gone for, 7 or 8 in a row?
I think it was 8 years, and then we went during COVID and went, we're done. We're good. See you guys later.
Oh, I guess not count. There was a gap year when there wasn't a Gen Con during the pandemic, so that
yeah, okay.
That was another year off, technically. But it did happen, and we've been watching it from afar, been keeping up with the videos still over on Roll for Crit, friend of the show. You can check out their coverage. And one of the things that I feel like is the biggest story to come out of it, and I thought might be fun to talk about, is the new Disney Lorcana trading card game, which has been brewing for a long time. It's from Ravensburger as the publisher, and it's essentially, for anyone who hasn't heard of this thing, it's coming out in September, I believe, as a wide release. Right. It is a trading card game with Disney properties, Mickey and Frozen. And I think that's what they have, those two.
Oh, they only have 2 cards?
Well, it's a very limited release. And it's essentially a Magic the Gathering type of game with Disney characters in it. But it was huge at Gen Con. It's had such a big response. They had to rework their entire line system because on the first day, and this is not something I got to experience firsthand, I'm really sorry I missed out on this, nerds were getting trampled and people were getting turned away because there was such a push, there was chaos at the front doors when people were running and crowding and just trying to form a line because they only had a limited amount of stock of this product each day. And Gen Con implemented for the first time a system wherein people could wait the night before, starting at 6 p.m., to get the product when it opened the next morning at 10 a.m.
Which is insane to me because the floor at Gen Con closes at 6 p.m. Or 5. So what you would do, you would leave there, you would spend all day at this convention, so like an 8-hour day, go grab a bite to eat, and then come back and sleep in this cold, dark convention center? Like, that doesn't seem like a fun day to me. And, I don't know, if we were, would we have done that? We're press, so I don't know if we would get, special access. I wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have done that.
No.
Well, maybe for some people, because not everybody goes for the whole weekend. Maybe you just have a Friday ticket, so you just show up Thursday and you're fresh as a daisy.
Right.
But, and I don't know. I only saw the announcement, and I know that this happened, and I believe it happened for the remaining 3 days of the con.
Wow.
But I haven't seen any photos or videos of the aftermath of it actually taking place. But the idea that they're basically encouraging board game nerds to sit in a line overnight and then go spend the rest of the day of the convention not having showered. I read that maybe they were like bringing around coffee and donuts for folks, which is nice, but like people are, you gotta, if you're there by yourself,
right, you have to hold your, you can't use the bathroom. It's going to turn into like an Amazon bottle situation at some point. Like,
where are you getting food? Are people bringing sleeping bags into this line?
And the other thing is, so that convention center closes down. This is a private venue that you pay to get into. And does that mean they had to ask their employees to like stay extra hours and like they had to pay? Because like their bathrooms had to have a janitor there to clean it, or, you know, they had to have people there to work security. And, you know, a lot of times they don't want you in the convention floor after hours or even beforehand because they don't lock things up.
Yeah,
Booths
well,
are
this
just
was
left there.
I'm pretty sure the hall itself was closed where the booths are. The line was all forming in the hallways outside of the main hall.
The giant corridors that they have there. But still, though, that's... At that point, just let people, like, get a ticket. And be like, here's your tickets, come in tomorrow. Also, it's not like it was an exclusive thing. It's just the game early.
Right.
So it's not like it's, oh, this is the Gen Con special. So, like, just wait a few weeks and you can get it at a store.
Man. You can't wait. You can't wait. Well, there has been... I think there has been speculation, or people are worried that maybe it will be hard to get even in stores.
Which I get, because if there's this much craze at Gen Con, yeah, it's a Disney property, it's a game property, it's a trading card game, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the game itself a little bit. Are you interested in
the
Lorcana?
Interesting. It's, you know, I like the Disney properties, I like a lot of this stuff, and it's something... It's a new thing, but it's an old thing. So it's like, it just seems cool. It seems exciting. It seems fun. But I wouldn't wait in a dark convention center for it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do that. I am not a CCG guy.
I'm normally not either, but it just seems
fun.
I
my impression of this, there's a couple things that I like about it. I like that it uses their system of mana, resources that you use to pay for cards, is you turn a card face down and that becomes like one resource, and then each turn you can add more cards to that, and eventually you have multiple cards you can exhaust, whatever word they use in Lorcana. And I'm my least favorite thing about Magic the Gathering is the mana system. I'm just not into that. I much prefer other games that have used... I like using your cards as your resource. I think that's a great solution. Because
you have them there, they're there for that. Like, you know, you use them, they're part of the game.
It doesn't water down your deck. It's just more interesting to me. But a lot of, and I haven't seen much. I haven't played the game. I am curious to try it out. But from what I've seen, it really does just look like, other than a couple changes like what I just said, if you've played Magic or probably any card game, I think you would sit down and look at these cards and you'd know exactly how to play this game already.
Yeah. There's nothing new. There's nothing creative. There's nothing... Maybe they have some fun little Disney wordplay, but it's nothing...
You're there
insane.
for the IP. You're there as a Disney fan. Is the impression I get. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be blown away if I try it. But so I'm not like super excited about it, but
it's just amazing to me because, you know, we went to Gen Con for a bunch of years and they always had like rules about entering the convention hall, and like you weren't allowed to like push, no running. They were very like they wanted it to be calm and collected, and it sounds like they kind of just said F you to that, and they're kind of like becoming more like every other convention. now that board games and stuff are becoming popular, more popular.
I mean, I think they weren't prepared for it. Obviously, no. I guess they didn't. They just didn't realize how much hype there was. I guess. I mean, I don't know how you could. It'd be hard to anticipate just how crazy it would be.
Now, do you think that who publishes it?
Ravensburger.
Do you think they didn't know, or they kind of like knew what they were doing, and it's getting them press because of this?
I don't think they. I mean, they don't control how they line up and swarm a booth.
But they could have been. They could have put okay, we're only limiting X amount per day, and because there has been a bunch of stuff where we waited in line.
They did do that,
and they just have a sign that says, "No, we're done for the day."
Yeah, I mean, the product sold out. They only had so many copies each day, so that's why. But I guess I don't know how long the line was. I don't know if they cut it off at a certain point, saying this is no one else will get a copy now. Usually, that's the kind of thing they do.
Yeah, so I guess you could. So you don't give them all out on the first day, because people do have tickets that are daily passes, and they didn't come one day, and it's kind of
But I'm certain that it's not bad press.
No,
it is good press for them to be like, our game is so popular, people are sleeping overnight for it. I mean,
and technically, since it's pre-sale, they can be like, by the time when they start advertising, oh, we already sold 1 million copies or what,
Sure, but and then also, but at the end of the day, it's like, do they even have to? They have Disney on it. Right. Like, what do they need to do?
Now, how does this work? Are they selling just the individual packs of cards? Or at the convention, were they selling like a boost, like a?
They had both. They had decks and packs.
Okay.
So yeah, you can get a starter deck and packs. I don't know. I think they had restrictions on how much you were allowed to buy. Also,
right? Because I'm sure people are running in and like eBaying everything.
So I'm sure some people are. Yeah. So some people definitely are. There's also the Star Wars CCG that's also coming. So another Disney property from a different company. And that one I do love Star Wars, but even that I'm also like,
it's a CCG, right?
I don't have the energy for it. I can't get into the booster packs. It's too much.
We did Pokemon back in the day. That was our thing.
I did it when I was 12 years old, and now I'm tired.
Now that was the other question I had, because like Pokemon and those kind of trading card games were huge for like the 8 to 15-year-olds back then. I'm sure there were adults that played them. But like, do you think kids get into CCGs as much as we used to?
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah? Okay.
These games don't get this big without kids also being into it.
Okay.
I'm assuming Magic probably skews a little older, but Pokemon is just as popular today as it ever was, the card game.
Okay. So that's good.
Yu-Gi-Oh's still around,
Because it's like whenever I go to like a comic shop, it's usually like our age or a little bit younger, but it's rare that I see children.
I bet if you went to a day where there was a local tournament, it might depend, because I'm sure there's probably older people, but they might have special days maybe for younger audiences. Or family
maybe not
days.
like a typical.
Also, remember, like, kids don't have cars. It's harder for them to go to a place.
What do you mean?
Well, they have the little plastic red ones with the yellow roof.
They can go to the comic book shop for that. That's fine.
But at Lorcana, I'm guessing, it seems pretty accessible, so it probably will be pretty big with kids. There's lots of stuff they could do.
It just seems wild that it basically broke Gen Con.
Yeah, it's big. We'll see if it can last and if it stands up, because usually any CCG not called Magic dies after a year.
Right. Like, what was the big one a couple years ago? It was like the Dragon Ball Z trading card game that they tried to reboot like 4 or 5 times.
By a couple of years ago, you mean like 10 years ago, maybe.
Well, it was when we were still going to Gen Con. It was fairly big.
I don't remember, because I didn't pay attention. I remember one time we interviewed those people, and that was a long time ago.
But then I think it was out again, and it was the same people who did the game, the Mega Man game.
Oh, yes, Jasco Games. They had like Cowboy Bebop. They had a bunch of different properties, but I don't think that ever got big. I think they just... I know nothing about it.
I have 2 unopened packs. That's it.
Well, that's good for you. They're probably worth nothing.
Hit me up in the comments if you want to buy them.
But the world of card games is ever changing.
Ever changing.
it's not the focus of our case today. We do have to get into our main case this week, which has to do instead with the world of music, also known as music.
Oh, or Muzak.
Sometimes known as Muzak. Mm-hmm. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Annie. Annie is a mother of 3 and a lover of music. Having 3 kids, she doesn't get too many opportunities to get out these days. But when she does, she takes advantage of it. And in this particular instance, she heads to a concert featuring singer-songwriter Ben Folds. It's a seated show at the Beacon Theater in New York City. And Annie is singing her heart out to all the Ben Folds hits at this show until someone sitting near her tells her to be quiet and stop singing. This interaction has Annie shook. She's distraught. She's questioning, why is this vibe different from the vibe of the other concerts that I've been to previously? As dual judges here at Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Annie deserves a Grammy or if she should have stayed home and saved money on a nanny.
No whammy, no whammy.
No whammy, no whammy. See, it was important to establish she's a mother because that way I could use nanny.
Oh, I thought you'd been like, she's such a mother.
She could have stayed home and watched the nanny.
Yep, mm-hmm.
She could have stayed home with her secret lover, Manny.
Or instead of being a granny.
Well, yeah, she's not a granny yet.
You don't know this.
I don't know. She's a mother of 3. She didn't say how old the kids could be in their 40s.
We don't know how old she is, do we?
We don't. She's old enough to have 3 kids, so 20?
30?
2030?
2030 vision.
2030?
Right? Yep. So we have seen Ben Folds a few times, maybe once.
That's true.
I don't know.
This case can apply to us directly.
And you and I have gone to a few
ways.
concerts together, and you've been to a lot of concerts. I've been to a lot of concerts. Are you a singer at a concert?
Oh, at a concert specifically?
Yes.
Singing along to things at the concerts. I am usually don't sing along at a show. Sometimes I will sing along. Like if there's, sometimes there's certain songs that the whole audience gets into, or
right.
Just especially like towards the end of the show, sometimes a song will come on, or if it's like one of my favorite songs that they have, maybe I'll sing along or maybe even just for the chorus or for a certain part that I love. Right. But I would say that for most of the concerts I go to, 80 to 90% of that concert, I'm sitting there listening to the music and not singing along. What about you?
I'm about the same. Like, there are some times where it's like I'll catch myself singing, and then the crippling social anxiety gets me, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be singing. How loud was I singing? But, I usually, like, I'll bop along, or, like, you're right, like when they do the audience light, or they hold the microphone up, you're supposed to, sing those songs. But, I'm usually not, like, a big singer at a crowd, but I will sing. I like to have the option. Now, I am a singer when I'm alone in my car.
Sure. Yeah.
It's my own private concert while I'm driving along of the highways of New Jersey. I crank up.
Mic'd.
Oh yeah, I have speakers on my roof so everyone around me can hear me. I'm very considerate. I like people to know what I do in my car at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not opposite of me. My windows are all tinted.
Right. Well, it's not really tinted. You painted them black, and I don't know how you drive.
That's a tint. Black is a tint.
All right.
And I have a periscope system. It goes above.
You have 2?
Like.
You have periscopes?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, what can I say? I don't mean to brag or anything, but
always bragging about your double scopes. So, I've never had this issue at a concert where I'm sitting there and I'm hearing somebody, because usually all the concerts I go to are ear deafeningly loud. So like I can't really hear, like most concerts I go to, I end up having a sore throat because I'm screaming at somebody or like trying to talk to them. Like the Elton John concert the few of us went to, we were trying to have a conversation, and you literally have to scream over somebody. Now, Ben Folds isn't a rock. He isn't like a rock band, so he's not necessarily like loud.
Yeah, Ben. So maybe people don't know. Maybe viewers or listeners aren't familiar with Ben Folds. But if you don't know him, you probably know Ben Folds 5. At least a couple of their songs, like "Brick" or "Song for the Dumped." And he's been solo for many years now. And I would say, like Ben Folds 5, that was a rock band.
Right.
Nowadays he usually tours with maybe a few backup band members, sometimes just himself with just a piano.
Right.
Which is certainly, yes, it's not as raucous a vibe maybe as a traditional kind of rock band, but I don't know that it's not that. I think
right, because it's not like
Folds, he kind of lives in both worlds, I think.
Because it's not like we're like a jazz club. He's not just playing soft piano. Like, he does hit the keys fairly hard, and it's not like it's not like a Metallica concert. It's not like that loud, but it's also not like a recital.
But I would say like Elton John is not that. I mean, Ben Folds isn't playing stadiums.
Right.
Is the difference, but there are definitely songs in Ben Folds' catalog that can hit the heights of an Elton John song in terms of the bombastic nature and like the dancing and singing.
He's Mr.
It's not
Bombastic?
all ballads. I believe he is. That song is about him.
Oh, I always thought that was Shaggy.
He's singing it from the perspective of Ben Folds.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yes, a little trivia for you.
Yeah.
So there's that. So if anyone, Ben Folds can kind of be both. And maybe depending on, I think that's why part of what's important here maybe to discuss is the type of venue that we're talking about.
Right.
Because we can say one of the times we saw Ben Folds was at an outdoor show where we were standing the whole show.
Yeah, I think the place we went to is fairly famous, the Stone Pony. It's a small bar venue on the inside, but during the summer they rent out a parking lot, or it's their parking lot, and they have it's all outdoors, no seating. You're just kind of shoved into a space, and you're just there. There's people drunk, passed out. There's it's an outdoor beach vibe. The ocean's right behind you.
Yeah, and it's a very different vibe from the Beacon Theater, which I have been. I don't know if you've ever done anything in the Beacon Theater in New York City.
I've never been to the Beacon, but I looked up what it looks like on the inside, and it looks like a traditional.
It's
regular...
a fairly. I think it used to be a movie theater at one point.
That's what I thought. It's not a mass. It's not like a Radio City size venue, but it's not terribly small. I can't. Yeah. I'm trying to think of comparisons that aren't like extremely local, like the MPAC or whatever. But
I'm terrible at predicting because I'll be like, I think it could fit 20 people in there, and it's like, no, it's actually 4,000. Right. But if I had to guess, I would say like maybe it's 400 or 500 seats. Again, I don't know. Right. That could be wildly off. You can Google it. But
I'm gonna Google it right now. Keep talking.
Okay, sure. It's like a small. Oh, Price is right. I'm going to say 430. It's like I'd say it's a smallish, cozy, old school kind of venue that feels it feels classical, which is a nice way of saying old and run down, but in a nice way. It's like feels.
How many did you say?
I landed on 430. What's the number?
I'm sorry, 2,600.
You gotta be kidding. See, this is what I'm saying. I told you, I cannot gauge.
But there are balconies and stuff, so.
Right. I know there's I think there's one balcony, or maybe there's more. But,
2,600 people.
Which, that sounds like so many people to me.
Right. But we also, we've seen concerts at Giant Stadium, or MetLife Stadium, whatever they call it. And that's 50 billion people can fit in that stadium?
This was just the other day we saw when we were talking about Oppenheimer and IMAX, and we were like, how many seats was that? 100? And it's 500.
Yeah.
It's so many more seats than we thought. Yeah. I don't know. My brain is stupid. But there is a big difference between the vibes of these types of venues, so that could also have a pretty big impact on it. Do you have what's your preference between indoor, outdoor, seating, standing, bar nearby, people are hanging out, chatting, versus sitting in a seat you're locked in? What's your concert experience preference?
I used to not mind going to a general admission, standing room only concert. I know my first Weird Al concert We were standing at the concert. We've done a few standing things, like when we saw.
That was the first one you went to. We had a standing.
That was the first one. Yeah, when we were like right up against the stage. We did like the Tim and Eric thing. That was standing room only. That was weird.
Sure, that counts as a concert, I guess. They sang songs.
I don't like standing room only. I like to, like, I'm not a mosh pitter. I'm not a dancer. Standing room only concerts have their place. So for me, best thing, I like it in a theater. I usually like being up in the balcony if I'm not going to be in the front row, because balcony you get to see down. And like you're at eye level with the thing. I need AC because when you're, well, for a multitude of reasons, unless it's like a fall day and you're outside, that could be different. But like when you're outside and you're tight with people, like the worst experience I ever had at a concert was, I think it was Weird Al in New York when we were at, it was a like a tennis stadium in New York. It was like a
oh yes.
It was like 98 degrees outside. We were sitting on bleachers, and it was just the worst thing ever.
No regular seats, just bleachers. No backs, nothing.
Yeah, I need to have a back too. Like I don't care how tight the seat is. I need to be able to, like, I'm paying money. I want to relax a little bit and enjoy the show.
Yeah, I didn't hate that experience, but it wasn't a great.
No, because especially like we were packed in there. But yeah, for me I like a Radio City style place. Somewhere that like every seat's going to be decent. Even like when you spend $30, you can still see the person on stage. Stadium shows are okay, but when you go to a stadium show, you're going there to hear it rather than to see what's going on.
Unless you spent $1,000 to get a seat up front.
Right, and at that point, yeah, that's amazing. But usually, like I like a Radio City Music Hall vibe. Right,
which is the thing that sucks is sometimes certain artists will get too big, and it's like, well, you're never gonna. You'd love to see the Beyonce show with 1,000 people.
Right, but that would sell out in a second.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Taylor Swift will never be able to play at the Beacon.
Right, which sucks too, because I don't know about Beyonce, but like I can speak to Taylor Swift. She's got a lot of songs that are well, she doesn't answer, but I speak to her. She has plenty of songs that are not necessarily like, people probably know Folklore.
Right.
That's all like acoustic piano ballads. You know what I mean?
Right. Like she's not like a rock the roof off kind of.
Some of her songs are.
Right,
but she's got some material that would be great to hear in a venue that's not a stadium, and that you just can't do that. But so I would love to sit here and say to you, you're a huge dork, you're a loser, you're a pussy.
Right.
I wouldn't say that. I don't use gendered insults because I don't think that's appropriate.
Right, no, rude.
I respect women.
Uh-huh.
And so I would love to say all those things to you.
Right.
But I'm not going to, because I'm kind of in the same camp. And you can apply them to me. I, not that long ago, saw Modest Mouse in Philly.
You only saw the Modest Mouse? You didn't aim higher?
Well, I'm working my way up. Eventually, I'm going to see the boastful mouse. The braggart mouse.
The braggart mouse.
And it was mostly standing room only. I mean, I think there was a balcony where there were tables, maybe, if you paid for up there. But it was more or less like there was a bar on the side, high energy, loud crowd.
Right.
And I had a pretty bad experience. Modest Mouse is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Now, did you have a bad experience because of what was going on stage, or what was going on to you?
My issue was, and this was also like, it was still, even still, it's close enough to COVID times that being packed in a room without any people, I'd get a little nervous sometimes.
Well, okay, we'll get back to that. Well,
yeah.
I always had an issue being around that many people and being grossed out, but then COVID was like, I don't need to do this. But that's a different...
Yeah, well, we can come back to that. But just to say that I wasn't like in the heart of I wasn't amongst the people doing the pounding and dancing in the center of the dance floor.
You weren't pounding anybody at the concert.
I was towards about, but so many people around me were just not singing, but chatting. And just like having their drinks, talking to each other like they're in their living room,
Like the
having
concert
a good
was
time.
a forethought.
Yeah, like afterthought, I believe you mean.
Afterthought, sorry.
But like, yeah, like it's like background noise for them to hang out. Whereas
Right.
I'm here to listen to this band,
Right, you paid this money to see a concert.
and I don't want like 12 sweaty drunk people talking around me.
Right.
And for some people, that's the vibe they want. And so I am, on one level, at least a little sympathetic to people maybe who say, I don't want to hear the singing. Now, like drunk yelling, talking may be different from singing. Maybe we can get into that. But that's where I'm coming from. I kind of with you. I kind of like a seated experience, which in this case, this show was.
Which show?
In this, I meant this case that we're covering on our show. Yes, not in the case that I talked about.
Well, my thing with, so like what you're just talking about was more of like you're going to a punk club or a rock club than a concert. Like there have been days, like I used to go in high school and college to like small little hole in the wall, like literal hole in the wall venues. That was like, it was standing room only. There was maybe a bathroom or a bucket to use. Like, it was this kind of venue that you go to where it's like, you're just standing there and there's somebody sleeping on your feet, like that kind of venue. And those are the kind of venues that, like, for a number of reasons I don't enjoy, but for the reason that you're talking about. That
I
people
just had a flashback to one of our first concerts that we went
to. And just going there and, like, the music is on the stage, but you're right. It's just there for background music. There's people around you smoking, doing whatever, drinking, and like they're there for the experience, not the show.
Right. Or for them, it's the same thing.
Right.
And that's valid if that's, and certain bands, that's kind of what the audience they attract. But it is a bummer when it's like, I feel like you're attracting an audience that's not me, and I wish I had the alternate experience where I'm sure other people, if they went to the kind of show that I like for some bands, they would be like, this is so boring.
Right.
I want to get up and dance and stuff.
And I also like onto another, like bringing back the Elton John thing. When I'm at a concert and there's people sitting in front of me, I hate when they get up and dance because they're blocking my view. Like this happens, I think it might have been the Elton John concert that you and I went to. There was like the people in front of us started standing, and I'm like, well, I guess now I need to stand too. So like it's a whole vibe that I'm like, I will
say, here's a kind of a weird contradictory thing about me. Having said I liked the seats, certain shows I'm okay with everybody standing, but I feel like it's got to be like there's a vibe in the crowd. Either everybody's got to stand or nobody's got to stand.
Right. Or it's like certain songs where like you're standing up with the cell phones out and like that kind of thing.
I saw Rage Against the Machine in New York City. One of the best concerts I've ever been to. I loved it.
Wow.
And it was in Madison Square Garden. Everybody had a seat.
Right.
Everybody also was standing the whole show.
Wow.
And I was great with it because you still had like your own area, and if you got tired or whatever, you could sit down. Whereas like my example from earlier with Modest Mouse is like, you know, your people are writhing in and out and all around you and squeezing through. Here it's like, I understand some bands, and I think Rage Against the Machine is one of them, you got to get on your feet and really get into it.
Right, and you feel it. You get it inside you, and you get the rock in you.
Yeah, you get that rock in your dick. But I had my space.
No. That's a kidney stone.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's not good. You need to get that
That's why
taken
it
care of.
hurts so much when I pee?
Oh, well, it could be the chlamydia too. But that's the main thing is the rock. You need to get rid of the rock.
I thought I was just so amped up from listening to Killing in the Name of.
No. Also, we need to get rid of the rock.
Well, I'd love to have the rock in my dick. We'll let the people at home figure out the logistics of that one. So anyway, there's a time and a place for it. It depends on the show, depends on the band, depends on my mood and my vibe. But we already said both of us are not really singers, usually. There's maybe exceptions at a concert. So the big question of this case, how much does it take for you to turn to the person at the concert next to you and say, "Stop singing"?
Me personally, I am a giant wuss. I'm just starting to now shush people at movie theaters. Or turn around and give them like the dirtiest of dirty looks because I'm 34. I don't care anymore. What are you going to do to me? I have nobody to impress except for the viewers at home. Now, at a concert, I need to know some information about what's her name?
Annie.
I need to know some information about Annie. Was she just singing to herself? Or was she having a full-blown concert at her seat? Like, was she trying to match the energy and the power that was going on stage? And, like, was she, like, singing poorly? Like, was she, like, blasting out her throat, singing, screaming, that kind of thing? Or was it like a, you can hear her if you're paying attention, but if you're not, like, paying attention to her, it's just background noise. Because, there's always background noise at concerts.
Yeah, it's tough because, this is her POV.
Right.
She doesn't specifically say she was singing. She just says she was singing.
Right.
Singing along. And she does mention having been to other Ben Folds concerts in different venues. I can't remember specifically if she says they were standing or not, but she said they had more. She was sang at all those, and the vibes were usually better, and everybody else was singing and dancing too. And maybe this is an issue of just reading the room and saying this isn't a crowd that's into that kind of thing. What is the line that you cross where it becomes obnoxious? How loud does it have to get? Or
I would say, like, at a concert, if you can hear yourself singing, that's a problem.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think about because it depends how loud it is. It might not take much for you to hear yourself. I don't know how strict we're being about hearing yourself.
But it's also like, okay, fine, movie theaters, if you talk, you might miss something. You're not going to miss something at a concert. You can still hear it. If they're singing, fine. Now, I do get a little annoyed when you go to a concert and they're singing the main, like if you go to... who sings Sweet Caroline? Jimmy Buffett.
Hendrix.
Yep. If you go to a Jimi Hendrix concert and he's starting to sing Sweet Caroline.
No, Sweet Caroline is Neil Young, isn't it?
I thought it was Jimmy Buffett.
No, it's not Jimmy Buffett.
It's not Jimmy Buffett?
Definitely not Jimmy Buffett.
Anyway, and like they want if they are on stage singing and they want the audience to sing most of the song, that annoys me because I'm there to hear them sing and not the audience sing. But that's a different...
Not even, but if they just do it for like the one part, you do it for
the one part, that's fine. But like I've seen shows where it's like they basically have the entire crowd singing along with them. And it's like, But I'm just a crotchety old man. But like if there's people singing next to me, I don't think I would be I'm so enthralled in like the person on stage, it wouldn't bother me.
Well, there's more factors, like what if they are bad at singing? Does that change your opinion?
No. And like, sure, if it was, like I said, if it was loud enough for me to be like, I can't hear what's going on through a professional PA system, I would get annoyed, but I don't think I would like shush somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I would, like you, I would never shush anybody.
No.
But here's the thing, I've never really had this experience, so I can't speak to it personally. I'm really just thinking hypothetically. I've certainly I feel like most concerts that I've been to are either everyone's singing all the time or nobody's really singing.
Right.
And I feel like there's some kind of a threshold, maybe it just has to do with the size of the band and the size of the theater, that if like 70% of the theater is singing, then it kind of all blends together and works itself out.
Right, it's just background noise at that point.
If it's like only the person sitting to your left is singing kind of loud, then that's worse. Like that's kind of distracting.
Because it just popped into my head. It's like, okay, fine, you go to a Broadway musical and somebody's singing along to that. That's a no-no.
That's no. I can't condone.
Have you ever had that happen?
No, because usually,
They have ushers who will come over and just punch you.
yeah, usually I feel like a stage show. I don't. I guess it depends because I don't see too many. If it's something like a Les Mis,
Right.
where everybody there, a lot of people at least will know the words. But I feel like I
It's
have
like a
been to
newer-
more newer shows that
Right.
people don't know the words yet, maybe,
Right.
or at least they're like they want to appreciate the experience versus like, well, I've seen Oliver already,
Right.
whatever it is. I can't think of it. Cats.
Anything
They're like-
Goes would be one that popped in my head. Something
Yeah,
from
they're
like the
like-
30s that, like, you know.
I don't need to like absorb this wonderful experience. I can
Right.
sing along, and it'll be playing again in a month, whatever,
Right.
somewhere else. But yeah, I wouldn't normally condone that, but yeah, at a concert, I think it's tricky. I think the question is it the job of the person singing to gauge whether or not they should be singing?
Well, that's the other thing, too, because, like, a lot of times an artist will be like, we love hearing the crowd sing back our song because that means they like
Sure.
it. They
Yeah, of
know it.
course.
They know the lyrics probably better than I do sometimes. So it's like, that's kind of welcome, I think, in most, like, rock's popular musicians. Like I said, this isn't like a folk thing, or it's not like, you know, a jazz club. This is like a concert at a real concert venue. Now, my other question is, she mentions one person shushed her. Was she bothering anybody else, or was there just one Karen in the crowd that was like, I don't want you to sing. This is a concert that I want to hear.
Oh, those Karens. Those damn Karens. I mean, this lady's
You
got
know.
3 kids. She might be the Karen.
Right, it's true.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah, I think your Karen level increases the more kids you have. Octomom, oh, she's a bitch.
I told you I don't like to hear gendered insults.
Oh, I'm sorry, Octoparent,
Thank you.
bitch.
Yeah, that is true. Was she just the first one to say something, or she's
Right.
the only person who cared?
Right,
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky because we didn't hear this person singing.
right,
I do think that there is a point where you can cross a line.
right.
And right now, I think all I can do is try to imagine kind of the average level of this and whether or not
Right.
I think that that's okay and what it would take for me to be annoyed.
Because the other thing that popped in my head too was like, okay, she's a mom of 3, out. I don't know if she was alone or whatever. You know, she doesn't get many times to leave the house. Assuming she might have been drunk and sloppy singing. Because I've seen that at concerts. My partner and I saw the Grassroots, I think they're like a 60s, 70s band in Atlantic City. And Atlantic City is known for wild people. So there was people in front of us who were like hammering back shots the entire time. And they just started singing like another song that the people on stage sang 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's
So
no
at that
good.
point, I think security came over and was like, you need to leave.
if you're singing a song they're not singing, that's definitely not okay.
You're at a Ben Folds concert and you're singing like, you know, a Billy Joel song.
Right. That's kind of
Ro-
offensive.
Right. The wrong piano man. That's, you know.
I like the Grassroots. I love Grass Questlove.
Yep.
Don't they play on the Grass Tonight Show?
Yep.
with
With Grass Fallon?
Jimmy
Yep.
Fallon. Yeah, Grass
Well, but did you
Fallon.
know there was a lead singer of the Grassroots who left, who was Creed from The Office?
Oh, I thought you were going to say who was the band Creed.
Yep, that's what happened. No, Creed
All
from
of
The Office.
Creed.
All of Creed is in The Office. Yeah,
Creed.
so it would, you know, going into potential verdicts here.
Let's get. I think I'm ready. So I don't. It's up to. I don't know if you're ready. If you want to go first, if you want me to.
You're ready. I'm gonna go first this time. I'm gonna go first because, you know, she's out there. She's at a concert. She's away from her children. She's living her best life, seeing a band that I enjoy. And I think when I was at the Ben Folds concert, it was a different venue. I was singing along, or when I saw Cake or whoever that night. I would say that, you know, she's having a good time. She's bopping along. And as long as she's not, like, screaming, falling down sloppy drunk, like holding on to the people next to her and like yelling in their faces the song, like extreme levels of craziness. I would say she's not guilty of singing at this concert. Not guilty.
Yeah, so I'm of two minds on this one.
Yeah.
I think, as we said, there's a right way and a wrong way to sing at a concert, and sometimes there's a time to do it, sometimes there's not a time to do it.
Right.
And some of that is up to personal, it's subjective. Some people everyone has a different line of when and where you should be singing. I could be cynical here, and I could assume that she's screaming and yelling.
Right.
I'm no cynic. I'm an optimist.
Oh.
Thank you. And I'm going to take into account mainly two factors. One, I think, and it's specific to this show, I think that Ben Folds I've experienced Ben Folds. I think, sure, he has quieter songs, but I think largely plays loud enough that this is not a situation where it's like I've seen, here's an example, not to go into a tangent during my verdict, but I've seen Regina Spektor live, and it was just her and a piano.
Right.
And that vibe was very soft, mellow, subdued.
Like an unplugged concert.
100%. And maybe there was a little singing along, but it definitely felt almost like you were at a classical music concert or something. It was
right.
It was like, this is more of a kind of a relaxed, just soak in the vibes kind of a concert. I think it felt weird for people to be singing because I don't even know if she must have been mic'd, but it was just her and a piano. So I want to listen to her voice,
Like a coffee house vibe.
Yeah. And I don't think Ben Folds at most of his concerts has that. So that's my first factor. I think he's loud enough to increase that. The other thing is I think I'm giving Ben Folds fans the benefit of the doubt, the Ben Folds of the doubt, that they're probably a little bit more introverted, a little bit, honestly, I think they're a nice group of people overall.
Right.
And I don't think that they would want to disrupt a show and make other people uncomfortable. I don't think they would cross that line. So I'm giving Annie the benefit of the doubt. I'm also saying she's not guilty.
Because and this isn't the venue that he's at. This is the kind of venue where you need to be mic'd. There needs to be those giant hanging JBL speakers. This is a large venue that has very loud acoustics and it's a concert venue. It's not like a coffee house. It's not whatever. So yeah, I definitely don't think she's doing anything wrong. Sure, maybe if she was like we were saying, sloppy, standing up, yelling. Sure. Now, what bothers me the most, I don't mind people singing. I hate people yelling out at the concerts. For example,
Freebird.
Yeah, play this song. Or we went to the Cake concert, and Cake can go on a political tangent. And there's guys next to us being like, cut the politics, just play them, or shut up and play the music.
Yeah.
And it's
those are drunk people.
But you also have you never seen one of their shows before, or you don't know what they do, Yeah,
well, I mean, it drives me nuts when people shout out the name of a song because it's they have to rehearse. They have a set list. Unless there's a section, unless they specifically ask for requests, it's just so rude to yell out a song. Don't ever be that person.
And it's always the most popular song, and unless it's a concert where they're playing the Weird Al thing where we saw the Incredibly Indulgent tour where he's not playing his crazy stuff, they're going to play The Saga Begins. That one song is going to get played over and over again. That's what makes them their money. It's if I had $1 million for...
when you go to see Tattoo...
Right.
They're playing all the things she said, running through my head.
Oh, I thought you meant the plane. Different Tattoo?
No, I think he sang both.
Oh. Well...
He's had a lot of hits.
Okay. So what would be a good punishment?
So we're punishing the woman who shushed her.
The shusher.
The shusher.
Is that a Seinfeld episode?
Yeah.
The shusher?
Yeah. I mean, Maybe she has to attend another Ben Folds concert, but she has earplugs in, so she can't hear anything. It's like you want to hear peace and quiet. Well, you know what? We mic the audience members.
Yep, I was just about to say that. And you only hear through your headphones the audience singing and not the actual concert.
Yeah, just the 2-hour set list of. You just have to hear them.
Now, I will say I do not like a live album. I'm not a fan of like a live concert album because I don't like it's weird hearing the people in the background on a tape or a CD, MP3.
I think there are good ones. I think there's good ones and bad ones. I think there's a couple good. You brought up BNL, Bare Naked Ladies.
Yep.
They have a album called, I believe it's Rock Spectacle, which is a really good live album. I remember back in there's a They Might Be Giants album that I just didn't know it was live.
I have that. I forgot what it was called.
Severe Tire Damage.
Yeah, and like you're listening to it, and then you find out it's live, and then you listen to it again, and you're like, huh.
There's a few songs where you hear people clapping, I think. So I was like, oh, like a couple songs, I'm like, they must have taken that from a concert. But a lot of the songs on that album sound like, however they rigged up the mics on that stage was like, in sound booth quality recording. Like,
well,
really
that's another
impressive.
band too that we've seen. That's like we've seen in two different styles. We've seen them the first and I think only time they played a stadium, which is when we were at Gen Con for the 50th anniversary.
Bringing it back full circle.
They played that that hockey venue.
Oh, right. Like, we saw them at the Stone Pony also. I forgot.
And then we saw them at the Stone Pony and somewhere else.
I saw them once at it was just like a fair kind of like they were, like it was like an outdoor state fair type of thing.
Yeah.
And they were playing just like on a stage.
They were just there.
Yeah, they were just there. And what was your point about them?
Well, but they're the kind of band, like, they scale up, so it's like you have to, like, pick your venue, because, like, I've seen them, look, we've seen them at the same place we saw Ben Folds, so it was that small place, but then when we saw them at the whatever hockey arena that was, there was echo, and it's louder, and you can chat to each other, and,
Yeah, that's true. Some bands can play in both worlds a little bit. Well, we gave you our verdict on this one, but we'd love to hear yours if you're a viewer or listener of the show. You can give your thoughts to us. Our email address is geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also go ahead and submit your own geeky case for our consideration via that email address or our handy-dandy form. Maybe you have another concert faux pas you want us to judge or anything else related to a geeky subculture of any kind. We don't judge, we take all.
Oh, I thought they were going to continue from there. Oh, there it is. Okay. And let us know in the comments below, what was your favorite concert? What was your all-time favorite concert, and did you sing at it? Let us know in the comments, and give us a thumbs up and all that other stuff. And if you want to help out the show and help us go see concerts, you can head on over to our Patreon. It's just a few bucks a month. It's patreon.com/geeksontrial. And you get early access to our audio and video episodes, and potentially down the road, if there's more of you, some surprise goodies will be coming to our Patreon as well.
Maybe some Zoom concerts, the two of us
Zoom
singing.
concerts. Yep.
We
can't play instruments, but we can sure try.
If you're interested in following us, you can find me at Quentz on Twitter, at Jonathan Estes on Threads, and my personal website, jonathanestes.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, see my YouTube videos. All that fun stuff is over there.
And you can find me over at The Snack Guy on the YouTube. And if you want to see pictures that I've posted from concerts and stuff that I've been to, find me on Instagram, Ivan R. Hahn or Ivan Hahn. I have both.
Whoa, look at you, cornering the market. Monopolizing the Ivan Hahns.
Yep.
Well, it's time to leave the stage. There won't be an encore on this episode. Oh, he did a gavel drop, folks. He dropped the gavel.
And hopefully I didn't stop any recordings. We're good.
Oh, we're just right onto the space bar there. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Ivan Hahn, and this has been Geeks on Trial.